Hi everyone, this is my SL500 R230 2004. The soft close doesn't work. You close the trunk and you hear a click, but then you don't hear another click. Uh, the one that actually pulls the trunk lid down. So the problem with the soft close is this actuator here. It's air driven and it leaks and it causes the PSC circuit to time out. So we need to get that unit out of here. And it's pretty easy. All you need is a T30 Torx bit, a small screwdriver, and a big screwdriver. And first thing we're going to do is take these push pins out of here. It's not that hard. You just pry them out with a screwdriver, pull them out, and it's not hard, and get all of them out. Once you have all 5 of them out, you can pull this panel right off of here. And that exposes the latch screws there. But first, I'm going to pull these off. You need to pull these stops off. One on the right, one on the left, and it's a T30 Torx bit. So take both of those off. Once you got both of those off, you can pull this piece down here. You don't need to get this whole thing off, just on the edge here. And there's 2 body type fasteners here and here, and you just pull them down. There's 1, 2, and then you got to pull a little bit hard because there's this indent right here that's holding it in there. There. Okay, once you've got it in this position, that's all you need. You don't need to get it down any further. Then you can see the actuator up there. This is a spare one that I have down here that I showed you. All right, now you need to take off these 2 screws here. These are also 30 bits, T30 Torx bits. Now you've got those out, just notice the impression that the bolt left on the metal panel here. And when you put this back, put those bolts back exactly where they were. All right, now we need to release this lever right here. You just take a big screwdriver and twist it, and it'll come off of that ball there. We just got that off there. And now we should have enough to be able to pull this thing out. Push that forward. And this thing should come out about right there. And that's where we want to keep it because we're going to test it now. To test this thing, we need to simulate the trunk closing. And if we move this lever down, it should click once and then twice. It does once, twice. But you can hear, I don't know if you can hear that, but there's air coming out right there. So eventually, out there. Eventually, that leak is going to cause the PSC pump to run too long, and the PSC pump's going to shut off. If you don't hear any air or this thing doing anything, then you need to reset the PSC pump. And to do that, you come around to the passenger side to the fuse box here. And you lift up on the back here. And then you pull this front panel off from the top down. And just let that hit the floor. Reach your hand up there. Oh, and you can pop that top off. Obviously, you didn't need to do it as hard as I just did it. But you need to reset that yellow fuse right there. You just pull it out for about 2 or 3 seconds and then put it back in, and that will reset the PSE pump. So when that PSE pump does time out, that does mean you got a leak in here somewhere. So at this moment, I got the leak right there, so we're going to take this thing off and put it on the bench. You need to get off this yellow airline here, and you just get your big screwdriver and you can twist that off and it'll pop off. I can't do it with one hand, so I'll move on to the electrical connectors. Just take out that electrical connector there. Whoop. And this electrical connector right here. And then I'll need to pry off that airline right there, the yellow one. You don't need to pry the purple one off. Okay, I've got this thing off and on the bench here. Normally what happens is this puck messes up. It is a two-piece plastic part here, and it breaks. These two halves separate and it leaks. I bought this one off of eBay for like $25, and the puck on that one was also broken. My original one was broken, and so was the one I bought off eBay. But I've glued it several times. The first time I glued it, it didn't hold that long. It held it for about a month, and then it broke. So I really caked on the epoxy there, and it's pretty good now. But the line there is leaking. I've plugged all the other lines that have the ball bearing in them, and that's where they usually leak too, according to other people. So I just sealed all of these plugs around here. You can see them. They're all over. I think there's like 6 of them. Okay, here's how you take this puck out, this air reservoir. You just pop the hose off here with your big screwdriver and just twist it, and it'll pop off like the yellow hose that was on there. You got to move this lever up so you can get it off. So you get the hose off, and then you stick your big screwdriver in here and wedge it off. It might come off a little harder than that. I've had this off probably 50 times, and you can see I've glued this with epoxy, but it is still leaking, I believe. I can hear it leaking when I open the trunk. When I open the latch, I can hear some whooshing of air, and I think it's right here because this is where the epoxy is white and not clear like some other spots here. So I need to re-epoxy this. This is what it looks like without epoxy, and it's broken everywhere. You can see the tabs are broken all around this thing. So when you epoxy it, make sure that you got it closed all the way and then epoxy it. I would recommend using plastic epoxy, but you have to squeeze this thing to make it fully compressed here. So keep that in mind when you're epoxying it. I've used a C-clamp here to clamp this thing shut, and it's pretty closed all the way around when I've got this C-clamp on here. So I'll probably just put the epoxy on about 3/4 of it, let it dry thoroughly for an hour or two. It's 5-minute epoxy that I'm using, and I'll let it dry for an hour and do about 3/4 of it, and then once it's dry, I'll do the other quarter without the C-clamp. If you're curious to see what's inside this plastic puck, here it is. Here are the 2 halves. Here's the spring that pushes that diaphragm back. Air comes into this port here and pulls up or pushes this rubber diaphragm along with this shaft up through the hole there. and then that shaft pushes against this lever and opens the latch. Before I put the puck back in there, there's actually another shaft end that's kind of hidden here. It's behind this lever here. It's right down in there. A little hard to see, but you can see where I've epoxied it there. It's right about there, a little hard to get to. And then you've got this one here. I put a little too much glue on there. And on the top, you can see four of them, four of the ends of these shafts that you need to epoxy. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a hidden one, 6. So epoxy all of those ends pretty good. Put the epoxy on the end and also around the shaft because the shaft cracks there too. And now I'm going to put this puck back in. To put the puck back in, you have the 2 studs on the bottom of the puck here and the air line there. The air line goes this way toward the unit, and there's 2 holes in the frame here that the studs go in, and make sure you line them up. And you'll need to move this lever back so you can push it down in there and get the hose out of the way, and you just push it in there while you're holding the lever back and snap it in there, and then just put the hose back on there and make sure it clicks. There, it clicks, so the puck is back in there. Okay, now when you put it back on, you can test it here again. Don't install the whole thing, just put it on like this. Just put the air hose on and the 2 electrical connectors, and then you can go ahead and test it again by pushing that lever down and then using the trunk release to release it. And I did that a few times and my circuit still timed out, so I put my ear up here. Good thing about this is you can twist it around and look at everything, and I could hear air, or I could put my face up here and I could feel some air coming from right there. So I put some soapy water on it, reset the circuit, and I could see bubbles coming right there, right on that the end of that shaft. I saw some bubbles coming out of there after I put some soap on there. So I'm going to take this thing off and reseal that port. Okay, I've re-glued that port there. Just put a whole glob of glue on there. I took the old epoxy off and put some new epoxy on there and just really globbed it on there. I've tested this about 5 times now and it hasn't timed out, and I don't hear any air leaking out, so I think it's pretty good. So just to show you, if I move that latch down, okay, it grabs. I can hear the PSC pump going, and I'm not hearing any kind of leaks or anything, and I don't feel any leaks. Last time actually I felt the leak, I didn't hear it back there. Now I will release the trunk release here. So you do hear a little whoosh of air. I think that's probably pressure relief out of these ports here. And I think that's normal because that's probably the 6th time I've tested it now, and it's pretty good. Before I was able to do it twice and then it timed out. So this is 6 times and it's looking pretty good. So I just need to put the rod back on here. So I'm just sliding it in there. Okay, so now it's ready to be put back in. And just put it in the way you took it out and make sure you line up the screw holes the way they are there, because this is obviously adjustable. And the rod up there, you just snap it in place. It's pretty easy. All right, thanks for watching.